Hello friends! Today we're going to be working with PhotoPlay's new Makers Series tunnel cards. The tunnel cards have 3 different packaging options to choose from. The first option is the rectangle, which includes 3 tunnel cards and the nested rectangle die. The second option is the circle, which includes 3 tunnel cards and the nested circle die. And lastly, we've got the value pack. The value pack makes 6 tunnel cards but does not include the dies. Each of the packages includes step-by-step line art instructions to make it easy to create your project. Today we're going to create this beautiful autumn card using PhotoPlay's new Mad for Plaid fall collection. This particular tunnel card is a double tunnel. It's got 3 different sections, and you've got your top base, you've got your center section, and then you've got your lower section, and all can be decorated with patterned paper, stickers, embellishments, anything that you've got to create this beautiful card. I also created, using the same product, a single tunnel card, meaning it doesn't have 3, it only has 2 sections. So you've got your upper portion and your lower portion. Now this particular project, I used my own dies, things that didn't come in the packaging. I created a little bit of a smaller circle and raised up the tunnel so that it wasn't in the center of the card. I've got one more example for you I wanted to show, which is the double rectangle. And with the double rectangle, you do see those 3 separate levels. So you've got your main level, your lower, and your bottom. And this particular card has not been decorated because I wanted to show you what it looks like without all of the pattern paper and embellishments. I will say that it is much easier to create a tunnel card when you've got your patterned paper and your design all figured out and you create your card as you go. So let's go ahead and get started. Because I pre-designed my card, I was able to pre-cut my pattern paper to the sizes that I needed. I separated the circle dies, and I also pulled out the pieces from the card kit that I needed. With this double tunnel, I've got my uppermost or my window 1 base using the patterned paper falling leaves. For the second section, which is my window 2, I used the red leaf pattern. And for the base, I've got the yellow plaid. I also cut a piece of orange pattern paper for the bottom of the card. Let's get started assembling the card. I'm going to set my dies aside since I don't need them just yet, and I'm going to go through some of the pieces of the card. Now this is the standard card base. You've got 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 long on the left-hand side, but on the right side, it's intentionally cut about 1/2 inch off the right-hand side. Don't worry, it comes in the package this way for you. All I'm going to do is go ahead and fold the card in half, and I'm going to burnish the edge with my bone folder, and I've got the smaller section in the back. I'm going to set this aside for now because I don't need it just yet, and then I'm going to grab window 1. Now window 1 says die cut this panel with the largest die shape. So I know that this is the piece that's going to have the falling leaves pattern. But first, it's much easier if I go ahead and fold on the score lines, and I'm folding on the score lines away from me. And I'm folding them in the same direction so that when I have my card folded, I have it looking like a loose fitting box. Like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my leaf pattern and I'm going to add it to my window 1 card front. When I add my adhesive, I only add adhesive to the outer edges. And the reason for that is that I'm going to be die cutting this window, and I don't want to ruin my die by adding adhesive here and getting the adhesive all over my die. When I add it to my card, I'm adding it to my card in between the score lines. So when I fold my card, the pattern paper doesn't roll on either side. It's perfectly in the center. Now it's time to work on window 2. Window 2 is the same thing. You're going to take your folds and you're going to fold them in the same direction away from you. And with window 2 facing top, I'm going to add the red pattern paper to window 2. Now, again, when I add my adhesive, I just make sure to only do the outside edges. Adding it to my card, I'm going to add it in between the 2 score lines and then make sure that it's centered up at the top. Once I've got it on my card and it's ready to go, it's time to die cut. But first, I know that this piece right here goes at the bottom, and this will help me decide where my circle is going to get die cut. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that to my card, to the bottom of my card. Now we're ready to go. For now, I'm going to grab my die cut machine. I prefer to use the Sizzix Big Shot. And one of the things that I love about the Big Shot is that it has the magnetized base, so that when I'm using thin dies, I'm not having to worry about the dies moving once I've got them in place. So I'm going to add my platform and my first die plate, and I'm going to be cutting window 1 first. Window 1 is the larger of the 2 circles. When I add my circle to the card, the die automatically wants to attach itself to the magnetic plate. So I'm going to go ahead and position the die where I want it to sit on the card. Once I have it where I want it, I'm just going to go ahead and run it through my die cut machine. Once that's done, I'm going to pull that out, pull my card off, and slide that through since I know I'm using it again. And then I'm just going to pop out that center piece. Right now I don't need that again, so I'm just going to set that aside. The next thing that I'm going to do is it's time to cut window 2. And in order to make sure that window 2 is lining up properly with window 1, I'm going to make sure those score lines are folded again. And I'm going to add it inside the card base of window 1 so that window 2 and window 1 are nested inside of each other. Once I've got those lined up, I can flip it over, add it on my die plate, and then add my smaller circle to the center. When I line it up exactly where I want it, then I could go ahead and pull off window 1 and die cut window 2. Once that's complete, I'm finished with my die cut machine and I can set it aside. I'm going to pop out the center of window 2, and then I've got my 2 pieces like that. Now it's time to assemble. I use 1/4" tape. Now you could use liquid adhesive if you want to, or you could use tape at dispenser adhesive, but I really prefer the double-sided 1/4" tape adhesive. And on the windows, particularly window 2, it says apply adhesive here. So I'm going to go ahead right now and I'm going to add that adhesive. I'm not going to peel the release paper. I'm going to leave the release paper on there until I'm ready to attach it to the card. And I really like this Terrible tape. This particular tape is made by Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. It's one of my favorites. So I've got that on there. The other thing that I want to do before I add my window, we want it to look something like that. So I want to make sure that when I add it to my card that it is in place centered. If you accidentally get them turned upside down, it's going to look something like this, and that's not going to work. So once I have them where I want them to be, I flip over my card and I take my window 2 and I add it to the first score line on window 1. Okay, so I'm going to peel off that tape adhesive and add it to my card. Now when I do that, I'm going to butt it up against that first score line, so the far left score line, and I'm going to take window 1 and fold it over to window 2. And when I do that, I'm going to give it a rub, and it will now be attached like this. Okay, now you can see, we talked about that yellow plaid pattern paper. Now you see where that yellow plaid paper is going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that to my card. Like the other pieces, it doesn't matter where you add your adhesive. So I was able to go ahead and add it to the center. And when I add it to my card, I go as far to the edge of the patterned or the card as I can with the patterned paper and make sure that I'm not going over my score line. Once it's attached to my card, it's going to look something like this. I brought my card base back in the picture because originally we had talked about this shorter side being married up with the shorter side of the window base. And it's time to go ahead and do that. I can add any adhesive that I want on the card base. I prefer to use my tape adhesive, but you could use liquid if it works out better for you, or you can also use your 1/4 inch double-sided tape. But for me, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to add 3 lines of adhesive to the short side of my card base, and I'm going to go ahead and marry the window side to the A2 card base, making sure that I don't go over the score line on the card. When I have that attached, it looks something like this. Everything good so far? Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to now create the rest of my window. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel off this second portion of adhesive from my window 2, and I'm going to take my right side window and I'm going to fold it all the way over to the left-hand side, and I'm going to fold it on this score line right here. So this is your second score line, or the right side most score line when making your card. So I'm going to take that piece and I'm going to fold it all the way over, laying it flat on my table, and I'm going to marry together window 1 and window 2. And when I do that, give it a rub, and when you open it and work the score lines a little bit, you've got your tunnel starting to form. Now if you hold the card like this, you can kind of see how it's going to work, because this piece naturally wants to land into this crease. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add tape adhesive to this 1/2 inch piece. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add tape adhesive to this 1/2 inch piece. It doesn't say it on the piece like window 1 did, but it does say it in the instructions and it's very clear. I'm going to go ahead and use 1/4 inch tape, and I'm going to add that tape as close as I can to the score line without going over. If you wanted to use 1/2 inch tape, you could definitely do that, or you could use liquid as well. Again, I'm just adding that tape right to the card right there. I'm going to take my tool to tear off my tape, and then I'm going to take the card base, so the left side card base, and fold it over window 1 like this. So again, it's laying flat on my table, and I come across, and when I open it, that's where the magic happens. Look at that. You've got this beautiful tunnel where you have your main base, your center section, and then your lower portion. Now it's time to decorate. As I was saying earlier, one of the beautiful things about a tunnel card is all the layering that you can do. In this particular card, I've got the base layer with a popped up sticker, and then I've got a couple of other stickers on the inside and then stickers on the outside as well. These stickers are the cardstock stickers from the Mad for Plaid Fall collection. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my sticker and get started. Now, the first thing is that I want to add my little owl right down here. So I'm going to peel him from the sticker sheet, and be real careful because he's got some delicate pieces over on the side. And I'm going to add him to the bottom of my card. Now if you'll notice, his head's going to stick up a little bit over where the circle is. So I'm going to take a little bit of baby powder, and I'm going to brush the top of his head with baby powder so that he doesn't stick. And I'm going to add him to my card right there. I'm going to open this up a little bit so you can see it a little bit easier. So he's stuck to my card, but he's not stuck to this next layer. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add this top sentiment, so grateful for you. And I'm just going to add it straight to the card. There we go. Now I'm going to work on the inside. Now, there are lots of stickers to choose from on this sheet. You've got lots of icons. Happy Thanksgiving, it's fall, y'all, I love fall most of all. All these really fun fall icons. But for me, I'm going to use It's Fall, Y'all. And I want to add it to the center of my card, but I really like it to pop up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a little 3D foam square. And then before taking off the release paper, I'm going to add a little baby powder to the outside edges to remove some of the excess adhesive. This way when the card closes, the only place that it sticks is where I have this 3D foam. I'm going to peel off that release paper, add it to the center of my card, and voila. All that's left are these different layers. And you can kind of choose how you want it, but for me, I loved the fall flowers that went with the leaves. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this fall leaf and I'm going to add it to the upper left-hand side of my card. When I add it to my card, again, I know that it's going to overlap the circle a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and brush it a little bit with some baby powder. Some of you may be asking, why don't you just use the ephemera? But I love the versatility of the stickers, and I love all the different shapes of the stickers. And it's super easy for me to add a little baby powder so that it doesn't get stuck to the card. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add, so on the next layer, some flowers. Okay, I like this flower and maybe this flower over here, and decide where I want them on my card. So knowing that this side is going to overlap a little bit, I'm going to take it and brush it with a little bit of baby powder, just a little, and add it to the inside of my card, like that. Make sure it's stuck on there, and then I've got this one right down here. Now again, I'm working with layer 2, so I'm working with, or tunnel 2 rather, I'm working with the second layer. So I'm going to add a little more baby powder to right here, just to take some of the sticky off, and add it to the bottom of my card right here. I think I need a little something something right there, so maybe I'll pull this acorn. And I know the leaves are going to stick over, so I'm just going to go ahead and add a little baby powder to that as well, and add it to my card, maybe right here. And now I've got the inside done. I'm going to close it, press it a little bit, get everything in place, and all I have to do is finish the front side. Now I went ahead and I pre-cut my 3x4 journaling card, tied some jute around it, pulled the border stickers from the leaves from the sticker sheet, trimmed them off a little bit, and added a heart sticker to the jute. I popped it up with 3D foam, and all I need to do is add some glue and attach that to the front of my card. All right. Now I really like a little bit of a white border around my card, so I did not cut it the full 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I trimmed it down to about 4 by 5 1/2 or 5 1/4. And there you go. This amazing tunnel card. Look at all the depth in that card. This tunnel card was so fun and easy to make using the instructions. Because it lays flat, you can put it in an envelope and send it off to a friend. If you like the Maker series, we've got lots of other cards to choose from. We've got the wiper, the waterfall, the shutter, the card box, the folio, and the matchbook. Be sure to check out all of our Maker series at an independent retailer near you. Thanks for watching.